Hello friends, welcome. So, in this video I want to discuss core principles in design. So sort of the deeper topologies and design principles that you put into your speaker and amplifier designs. And the importance of getting your listening habits first. Your listening preferences clear on first. Because I sometimes get these questions, is a choke input better than a capacitor input? And then of course the question is, is it a small first capacitor or is it a large one, and so on. There's all kinds of subtleties. And for example, is single-ended better than push-pull or differential or. And then I just have to say it depends on your listening preferences because really it doesn't. These things are highly dependent on what your preferences are, what is actually best. For example, if the most important thing in my listening preferences was the timbre reproduction of a particular instrument, so that it was tonally, timbral and so on, a perfect reproduction of why an artist, a musician chose a certain instrument. I want to have that experience of that precise tone. I would probably go for a single-ended amplifier with probably a Japanese output transformer and engage it that way. Whereas if I was go after lifelike presence and dynamics, I would probably go for the differential amplifier that I'm currently developing. So is one better or the other? As you can see, it totally depends on your listening preferences and your playback preferences, how you like to experience your music maybe even in a particular space. You might have different preferences for your living room than for your listening room or for your bedroom. So what I found over the last couple of years when I went the high efficiency path is that when I took it, I knew I was sick of being on the merry-go-round of just hi-fi, the typical hi-fi. I was just sick of it. It had no pleasure whatsoever, and I felt I was going around in circles. Yeah, you bought a bit of equipment, but nothing was really resolving. And don't get me wrong, manufacturers love this shit because you're just purchasing a lift and then you get some differences and you'll scout the forums and so on. But what I'm now finding is that once I started realizing I needed something else, I wasn't clear on what it was. I just knew it had to be different. And then I started working with these high efficiency speakers. And I started, of course, accelerating my tube amplifier builds. And at the start, I discovered things about them, solid wire versus stranded wire. But and these tonal things, but they weren't done in the light of my listening preferences, because I wasn't so clear on those. And so I could hear differences, of course, again, but they didn't have structure. They didn't guide me to somewhere so that I was actually achieving something. It was only until recently that also I was listening to bad systems and just hi-fi systems and just shit from people in home theaters and that sort of stuff, and my car stereo and my Adam monitor speakers, which is supposed to be good. And I got so disgusted with it, and then I had my amp in one of its early iterations, and I was like, "Oh, this is such relaxing, so nice to listen to. What a breather to just hear a system that is just doesn't piss you off, and it doesn't have these mechanical qualities." So yeah, so from that is just one of the elements. The other element, of course, that I shared before is, for example, I like omnipresence. I just like the room to be filled with music, and it doesn't matter in which location you are. I just like to have it being present everywhere, rhythmically really strong, and just a bit of that you feel the energy of the performers and their intent, their soul that they put into it. And that can go in many things. Sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's tonal quality, sometimes it's the emotional content of which it's made. And so when you have that experience, it is more on a soul level or something. It just does something with you, and it is just a beauty in a way. And so that's, once you become clear on those type of goals, then those topologies, those technologies, the materials, all of these technical matters start having serve a higher purpose, if you will, and then your search and your experiments start having a context, and they become, you start accelerating. And I think that achieving that point is probably the thing to aim for if you're lost. So I would say get yourself exposed to a lot of different systems and see the ones, remember the ones, inspect the ones that just hit a chord with you, even if sometimes if it's just the potential of what it is. Like sometimes some of my journeys have just, and that started with compression drivers and also those vintage Altec drivers and certain tube types. Sometimes you just put them in a system and you develop something quickly with them, and you just go, you can hear the potential. The rounded, the fully rounded product is not there, but it holds the promise. You can hear something in it that you go like, yes, this is the thing that I want. It's not fully fleshed out, but this is what I want. And then as you do more things and you go through more iterations, that'll become clearer and flesh itself out. It will take time, but and then you got these things in the proper order. So your preferences become very clear, and you know what? One Kickstarter could be that you just listen to a system that just sounds phenomenal to you, and that really hits the spot or something, and you can just chase it and see what underpinned it. But other than that, I would say it's most likely to be a journey. And then, as DIYers, you'll find these technologies that start serving that, and you'll start experimenting with those, or you'll find YouTubers, or you find other designers that have commercially available amps that make comments on forums and so on, and they can guide you, because now that you've been properly set, you're quite clear on your reproduction and the experience that you like to have. Then you actually will have developed the filters to filter out the bullshit from the gold nuggets that you're after. So within that context, then you can really go after developing your core principles that help your listening preferences. And as I said, I expect then that, and this is what I'm experiencing at the moment, that it's your building of amplifiers, your building of speakers starts amplifying, because you're more tuned in, you're honed, you're on the rails, you're on the tracks towards a certain destination. So you'll be clear on what to discard and what's helping. And so core principles, like we started out with loading and so on, but once you're clear on these preferences, these things will fall into place much better, and your experiments will be fruitful, and your experiences will be far more fruitful. Even the ones that are from some time ago, that then get a place. So anyway, this video is probably long enough. I hope you enjoyed. It's just a bit of musings around audio journeys and how to get further and get more satisfying experience. Thank you for everyone for watching. Thank you for all the people that comment me. Thank you for all the people that support me on Buy Me a Coffee. I hope this was in some ways helpful and useful. I think it's crucial on any underpinning, any technical thing that we do, that we have these type of context. And in the next video I'll probably go back to a bit more pragmatic matters. I've got a new amplifier under development, of course. I'll probably also start playing around with my speaker, and definitely with its crossover. Yeah, a bit more pragmatic matters. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video. And until then, have a great day, have a great week, and I'll hope to catch you soon. Bye bye for now.